Hello, I am testing out a new camera today. This is a little point and shoot I intend to have with me for when I walk my dog and we locate queen ants, which tends to happen. Generally over the summer, anything that flies, you have best of luck finding in the last hour of daylight, which is usually when I walk my dog. So I thought I would test out the camera beforehand, and I'll probably be using this a little bit off and on as I see fit here, though I only have like 20 minutes worth of record time with this camera, so I need to make it every little thing count here. We're looking at Crematogaster on the Joe Pye weed, and I think little aphid colonies have actually sort of exploded in population. They're now underneath the leaves even here. It's interesting because sometimes I'll find aphid colonies on plants and they don't have ants around them. So let's go have a look at one of those. This is a brown-eyed Susan, which you can see little aphids on the stem here, one particularly big one. And I only noticed this because I was deadheading them. Brown-eyed Susan is an annual. Sometimes the seeds take a couple years to germinate, but if you don't deadhead them, or set what height you want them to be, they turn into a little 5-foot-tall plant. It's not something I want here because I have other little plants that don't usually get a chance to flower here. A failing of a point-and-shoot camera is you don't always get to control where the focus is. Sometimes you want it, yeah. Can I do that while I'm recording? Yeah. Alright. Doesn't look like it, but anyway, we're going to toy around with this a little more. So recently people have asked me what should they plant for their ants, and I don't have any specific answers for that, because ants really don't... the main thing that determines what type of ants are in your yard is the type of environment you have, and the soil type, and what nesting materials are around. So as we're panning around my yard here, you can see I have like several meadow gardens. I have an actual vegetable garden there, a raised high tunnel for them to, meander in. Also some, lots of pots and things for them to hang out in, and like stumps of dead wood and such. And not one of these things in particular will attract ants in droves or anything like that, but it all kind of adds up together. And a species that always interests me is Camponotus castaneus, because this is a soil nesting species that you only ever find around trees, but they actually don't need to nest in a little cricket here, little ant cricket. They actually don't need to nest, or they only nest in soil, so it begs the question, why aren't they found in lawns? And the answer to that, I believe, is because certain dietary requirements are not being met by that. I like how this can just switch into a macro and such. I get a lot. But anyway, you'll never find this species nesting in a straight-up lawn. I don't know if you'll find it in a meadow garden or anything like that. And I don't know what the minimum requirement is between, like a distance between one colony and the other. I happen to know I have 2 colonies of this species in my yard. I don't know where the other one's nest is. I just know I find them all the way by the blue shed, way over there sometimes, all the way on that side of the yard. And I don't think it's from this colony. I believe another colony has sprung up somewhere, and they are foraging over that way. So, yeah, certain things, are better about insects. I would say plant things that are... Having more plants is better than having just a lawn. And having native plants is better because it brings the insects to you. You can get up to 40 times more insects in general. Just very carefully lower this down. Give them like a 10 seconds. Okay. But we have lots of other things around here. Like, you only ever find Aphnagaster, pretty much, in nesting in woodlands also. Though a few actually do nest out in the and like grasslands, but usually they're associated, they're like a forest edge kind of thing. But anyway, that is just my little 2 cents on what's going on. I do indulge in a few non-native plants, like a Shasta daisy here and there, but the majority of it is all, indigenous species. Some things you don't really find that often, like New Jersey tea here, which I see has a little tetramorium foraging on it. You don't usually find those above knee-high on plants. We have here Amsonia. And let's see. I think this is cutleaf coreopsis, one of the coreopsises. The one that spreads by root suckers. And I have Camponotus castaneus on that, tending some type of aphid. I believe they also tend the flower buds to this plant when they finally get up. They kind of nectar scrape the unopened bulb. And what else we got here? I have to be careful about what I'm stepping on. Autofocus, where are we at? There we are. More castaneus. This is on a false sunflower. Heliopsis helianthus. This species, when I find them nesting, they tend to be in hollow twigs and hollow plant stems. It's another, what did I say? Castaneus earlier? It's suburbatus, what am I saying? I'll go so carefully make my way in here. It's like a dead spot where we dumped ashes or something. This is a false indigo plant. Sometimes you'll find the leaves curled up and they'll be the silver-streaked skipper or silver-striped skipper. We'll actually use these. I have seen it happen. More frequently, though, they use the false indigo bush or tree, which is a neat plant, which I checked earlier and does not have anything ant-related going on to it. Otherwise, we would be over to that. There's some Tapenoma stealing nectar from Amsonia. Yeah, I have to deal with the focus issue. And sometimes these fall over. Got snagged on something. Otherwise, I'd have 2 of these, It's nice blue stalks just, kind of poking up. Anything in the genus Prunus, the native plums and cherries, tends to be a good option for insect activity and ants. See Camponotus castaneus, Camponotus pennsylvanicus over here. Sometimes I just say things and I don't know what I'm saying here. Maybe don't necessarily use a beach plum, which is what this is, which, if you actually go to the sand dunes of like Cape May and see these plants growing, they don't get much taller than this, but I'm told if you grow them in clay, they actually get quite a bit taller and actually turn into a tree. I'm just setting here. I thought I saw a different species on this tree earlier. I thought I saw Formica subsericea, which we hadn't found yet. That is not in focus, but that is the larval stage to a ladybug, which means there's probably aphids somewhere on this tree. And we'll keep looking. Sunflowers are another good choice. Probably the, I'd say if nothing else, you can always do like the annual sunflowers just for $5 worth of seeds. You'll also get goldfinches, which are a very pretty bird if you get them. But it's interesting coming out with my little patch of perennial sunflowers, because we have different species on almost every one of these little stalks here. Inchromatigaster carassi. Tapenoma sessile was just underneath that leaf. More Tapenoma over here. More Chromatogaster over here. Lasius alanius. Get in nice and close to that one. I believe that's Lasius. It looked hairier than too hairy to be a Tapenoma. But yeah, perennial sunflowers. These actually do get tall, and they are kind of invasive, but I mean, it's as easy as just, you know, pulling it out of the ground if you don't want it. So if this patch ever gets too big, I can just pluck them, which is what I basically do all year, because there are some years, because they're growing through certain things. I have a shrub here I want to get more sunlight, and I have other things that are a little important to me, so let's see. And down here, this is the twin leaf, which was flowering earlier in the year, and you see the little seed pod it makes. Not squishy enough to harvest, but maybe another week or two. So this is that Asian peonies that's maybe a day or two past its prime, but when you get to buy these, it should look more like that. But when you get to buy these, a lot of these are cultivated to be, you know, frilled out to the nines. But I went with one that actually has reproductive structures. It's not just a mass of petals. And I can see Tapenoma sessile have changed over from nectar scraping the outside of the flower to stealing nectar directly from the inside of the flower. And another one down here. We just planted these like a year or two ago. They're otherwise a fairly large plant. They grow up like 3 feet tall and then flop over, but yeah, stunning little flower there. But the thing about this is almost nothing will actually consume the foliage except for the most generalist of foraging insects, which we definitely have, you know, things like the woolly bear and, you know, general crickets. Yeah, they're more than happy to nibble on a lot of this stuff. But more species have specialized on specific plants than there have to specialize on just a general diet of a little bit of everything. Anyway, I thought this was pretty. Alright, so I went outside, and on my walk I noticed one of the colonies of Tetramorium caespidium had their nest entrances wide open. And that reminded me, these actually fly at the earliest in my area the last week of May, and it's May 20th right now, or no, May 18th, so that's close enough, but these are all reproductive brood, the bigger ones, and these are not quite far along, so it's possible a few colonies have alates already, but they really don't want to fly until sometime in the middle of June. And it's also really dark and late in the day for then, hence I'm using a solar light for light. But it's actually kind of working, so I'm surprised there. Yeah, but anyway, I thought I would check that out. So these will be flying in a little bit. And the best way to catch them is actually, if you know anyone with a in-ground pool, or actually swimming pools in general will work. But, different angle for interest here. But, you know, queens, they fly at night. Usually, I think they start at midnight, but that's for the colonies that are underneath, like, streetlights and things like that. So, and we'll see, the main flights actually don't start until a little bit later in the day, or probably that morning. But you can also find queens just kind of wandering around. Anyway, we're gonna let this highly invasive species get back to its thing. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.